Okay, this video goes with Kuta handout number 14, but this is the video C. This goes with the end of the handout, and this is the one that probably needs the most explanation, probably the hardest. Not only do we have some ratio problems like we did 49 and 50 before, I'm going to do one more of those, but then we have some negative exponents raised to a power. I mean, this just gets kind of ugly, so pay attention. Let's just start with this right here. Let's do problem number 49. Got negative exponents, so if it's a negative exponent and I want to bring it downstairs, it'll become positive. So I'm going to end up bringing this k to the negative third power down to the bottom, but I have to put something up there, so I got a 1. Remember, there's always the coefficient 1 that we don't show, so that's still up there. And then down at the bottom, I have 2k to the fourth. That was already positive. And then times, and now I have k to the third power. That becomes positive. So when I simplify, I still have my 1 on the top. Well, 2 times 1 is 2. When I multiply the coefficients, k to the fourth times k to the third, keep the base if it's the same, add the exponents, and that's the simplified form. Okay, let's get into now when we have problems that have negative exponents. Remember, this negative 2 applies to everything inside the parentheses because we have grouped the term success. So because that's a negative exponent, I need to now make this a ratio. So it's going to be 1 over, and then in parentheses 6x to the second power. I've made it positive by bringing it downstairs. Well, remember that exponent 2 applies to everything inside the parentheses, so we still have the 1 on the top. But what is 6 squared? 36. What is x to the first power raised to the second power? It would be x squared. Remember, the rule is multiply. When I look at problem number 54, I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, this is raised to a negative 3 power. And I'm thinking, wait, I want that to be positive. So when I set this up as a ratio, this gets kind of tricky because I have the 1 on the top. But when I bring this, you know, I guess this term inside the parentheses, it doesn't change. I still have 4p to the negative 2 power. What changes is that negative 3, when it's raised to a negative 3 power, that becomes now a positive. And so now when I start to multiply, remember, we still have the 1 on the top, but everything on the bottom now gets applied by this exponent 3 on the outside as this raised to the third power. So 4 to the third power is 64. And then p to the negative 2 power times the 3 power is p to the negative 6 power. Because a negative 2 times 3 is a negative 6. And now I got a huge problem because I'm thinking, wait a minute, p to the negative 6 power, I can't have that down there, negative. I want that to become positive. Well, to make it positive, that's all we have to do is just take this term and move it back upstairs, and the numerator becomes positive. So when this is simplified, now I have p to the 6th power up on top, and then over, and the only thing left on the bottom is 64. We'll do a couple more examples. Let's just go ahead and do problem number 55. Problem number 55, when I look at this, I have a positive exponent. Remember, that applies to everything on the inside. Well, 6 to the third power is 216. And then x to the negative 4th power times, or raised to the third power. Remember, the rule is multiply, so you keep the base x. But a negative 4 times a positive 3 becomes a negative 12. And it's like, well, wait a minute, can't have that. So the 216 is going to stay on the top in the numerator, and remember, if we have x to the negative 12 power and we want it to be positive, we just bring it downstairs. So that's the simplified version. And I think the last one I want to do in this group of problems, I think I'm going to do problem number 59. Remember, this applies to everything here. So I better get out my calculator. I'm not really quite sure what 8 to the 4th power is. But before I do that, I'm just going to try to get something set up here so I'm ready to go. Okay. All right, so remember, it's to the negative 4th power. 8x to the negative 1st power raised to the negative 4th power. So I'm going to move this up a little bit so I have some room. But we have the 1 on the top. Remember, everything within the parentheses gets moved down. So I have 8x to the negative 1 power. That gets moved downstairs. It doesn't change. But now raised to the negative 4th, that now becomes a positive 4. Okay, remember, we need to apply that 4, that to the exponent 4 to everything inside. So I still have my 1 on the top. Okay, well, 8 to the 4th power, well, let's see, that is 4,096. 4,096. And then let's see, x to the negative 1 power raised to the 4th power becomes x to the negative fourth power. And then I got the same problem here. It's like, wait a minute, I can't have that x to the negative fourth power down there in the denominator. I want everything to be positive. So that's going to move to the top. It's going to be x to the fourth power up on the top. And what stays downstairs? 4,096. Try to apply those rules to the rest of the handout. See what kind of luck you have. Any other problems we'll talk about in class tomorrow.